Hey everyone, welcome back to my next installment of Minotaur Berserker. We have just collected our first rune, and so now we're going to head to the spider's nest. If we go with capital G, or if you go anywhere, when it asks you the level that you want to go to, if you do 0, it will take you to the entrance. It's a little crawl life hack there. Hooray! So in this case, because we wanted to put our chainmail of poison resistance on before we went in, if we did level 1, we might have walked in and then suddenly be fighting all these spiders. That's why we did 0. So when we put this chainmail on, well, we can see we're about to lose a whole bunch of AC. Capital W. By the way, I hope these letters are starting to sink in, because if I see any of you idiots wearing armor with your I button, I'm going to, I don't know, something. Capital W, we're going from 33 AC to 22. That's kind of miserable. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to drop the chainmail here and go in naked, am I right? No, I'm not naked. And we're going to wear our fire resistance again. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in search of a ring of poison resistance. That would be much more preferable. At the moment we're wearing a ring of protection from cold, which we don't really have any use for in spider's nests. So if we could get a ring of poison resistance, that'd be ideal. The place we're going to go to find that is Elf, funnily enough. Because I know that there are some enchant weapon scrolls right next to Elf, except that was a lie. This one. We'll stop on the way, and then I'll explain Elf to you. Buy that. Off a read. And now we have a +9 broadaxe. That's the highest that it will go. Cannot be enchanted further. Cool. How many teleports do we have? 10. Okay, so we don't really need to buy these scrolls. What else is here? Recharging we don't need right now, maybe? We have 3. Yeah, that's right for the moment. The main thing we'd want to recharge anyway is our Wand of Heal Wounds, and we haven't used that once. Let's eat, and then we'll find the Elf downstairs. Okay, so Elf. A lot of people seem to have the idea that Elf is this really crazy, scary place that you should never go in. I don't think that's true. Elf is and can be very dangerous, but it's dangerous in a couple of quite specific ways. So once you've got the tools, you can do it. So what are the tools and what are the considerations that you should have? Okay, the first and most important one is that you need to have magic resistance. There are 2 different elves that can banish you to the abyss, and you want to have at least 3 pips of MR. We don't right now, but if I use Trog's Hand whenever we see one of those banishes, that'll be fine. Alternatively, if your character is strong enough to survive a trip to the abyss, say you've already got your 3 runes, you wouldn't care so much. But if you were doing it around now, we could probably make it out of the abyss if we were just trying to escape, but all the same, if you're doing it around this time, you want to have probably 3 pips of MR. With 2, you're pushing it. It's quite likely that you might still get banished. With 1, if you were just like this, you would almost certainly get banished. And 3, it almost never happens. You'd have to get really unlucky. I think it might be a 1 or 2% chance, something like that. It might even be 0, I don't remember. That's the first thing. The other thing is that you want to have some level of HP. I'd say anything under 100 and you would be insane to even enter. Probably you'd want to have around 120 or more. And the reason for that is there's one particular elf. He is a deep elf annihilator. His spell here, his crystal spear. There are a whole bunch of different monsters in the game that can cast this, but you can see a lethally sharp shard of crystal. It really hurts, and on really powerful monsters it can really hurt. For an ancient lich, you won't see them until probably Zot 5, unless something really wrong happens. There might be some in Vaults if we go to Vaults 5, but I'm not sure yet. A max damage one from those guys can do 144 damage, but for a deep elf annihilator, I believe max damage is just a little over 100. So anything under 100 and, well, I mean, again, you've got AC rolls, etc. But anything around 100 or under HP, you could potentially get close to one shot by this spell. So we've got 150 at the moment. I mean, you'd rather have more, as you'd rather have more always, but that's probably fine. The other thing that I think you should have to do elf is some form of digging, whether that's a wand of digging or a wand of disintegration. Ideally both, but I'd say you need to have at least one, or else you need some other way of doing elf 3, which is where most of the scary elves are. That's another consideration actually. Even if you're not quite strong enough to do elf 3, say we our 2 lair branches were shoals and spider, and we really didn't want to do shoals yet because that's often considered the hardest lair branch, we might have come into elf 1 and 2 to try to do that without doing elf 3. Quite often there can be shops on elf 1 and 2, so we might have been able to find a ring that way. And then the final thing, which is not necessary but makes it a lot easier, is having a scroll of magic mapping so that you can find with 100% certainty the ending vault on elf 3. So that's it. MR, HP, some form of dig. Those 3 things, and as long as you, again, with elves, a lot of them blink around, some of them can go invis, etc. A lot of them can summon, so as long as you don't charge into a lot of elves and you recognize the scariest ones, which I'll try to point out to you as and if we see them, you should be fine. When you first walk in, there's often, it's not a vault, but you kind of have a welcoming party of these deep elf mages. And these dudes are, they're kind of like the bread and butter elves. None of them hex you. They can sort of shoot elemental things at you, they can summon things, etc. But they're not super dangerous unless you get double zapped a whole bunch of times by electricity. We're just going to stay on the stairs so these summons don't overwhelm us. We'll rest a bit so they disappear. And most of these guys can blink. There we go, that guy has electricity. Trying to ignore his summon and hit him. Okay. Done. So now That might make elves seem a bit scarier than it is when you first come in and you face these 5 or 6 dudes all at once. But once you do that, the rest of Elf 1 and 2 is generally easier. Another thing, although not so much a big deal for us because we're a Minotaur Berserker, but in Elf there are often dancing weapons, and they're immune to magic. So if you're some hexer dude who relies on magic to then stab things, you're going to have a bad time against dancing weapons. One thing we could have done, and I'll demonstrate this to you now because this is something that we'll definitely do for Elf 3, which is why I said you want digging, and we might do it in the rest of Elf 2, is what's called a kill hole. So if we capital V evoke our wand of digging, the aim here is you kind of alright, well never mind, we found another little secret room there. This guy's an archer. They blink around too, they're kind of annoying. But we should reflect his arrows at him. Okay, let's try again. Let's try with this wall. This one here. Capital V. Wand of digging. The idea is that you dig out a little hallway. If you make a hallway like this, you can fight enemies one at a time in the hallway. But the super kill hole strat is you then make another little, ideally you do it with a wand of disintegration. If you have digging, you can kind of approximate it, but with your disintegration, if you then make another one at a right angle, you can sit in your little kill hole here, and there's only a single tile that enemies can see you. So, one, it means that you're only fighting one at a time. Two, things are not going to be pelting you with spells from a distance. And three, anything they summon, etc., while they're standing in front of you, won't do anything because their summons will be standing in some other tile that you can't see. Kill holes are very useful in a lot of places in the game. Anywhere where you have rock walls. Some places, vaults for example, have stone walls so you can't dig, but anywhere with rocks, kill holes are very effective. This guy's confusing us, but it's actually really annoying. Didn't matter at that point. Now that we have a whole bunch more elves turning up, we do care a bit. Deep Elf Knights are the bread and butter equivalent of a melee dude rather than a mage. They can shoot some spells at you, but they more often either haste themselves or invis themselves, or both if you're unlucky, and then just hit you with their weapon. Yeah, okay, they can't actually do... Oh yeah, the first book can. They have haste and invis, if it's that one. So yeah, because these other elves are turning up, now we care a bit more. We are first going to Q for Quaff a potion of curing to get rid of our confused. And now, so that we don't keep getting confused, we're going to A for ability, Trog's Hand. That puts the confused down to 1%. Another bonus of doing Elf as a Berserker is that, I've not mentioned this so far, but Trog gives you extra piety if you kill magic users. Now axe to level 20, but we still got a manual. We'll keep going. Because the magic weapons, because the dancing weapons are magic immune, you saw the elf just shot a lightning bolt through it. Lightning, lightning, lightning. If you're against the lightning enemy, try not to get double zapped. As in, try not to be next to a wall between you and that lightning enemy, because it'll hit you twice. dragon. Interesting. It's kind of an odd armor because it's relatively heavy, but it gives you a whole bunch of stealth. So it's in kind of a weird spot because if you actually are a really stealthy character, let's drop those. See if you drop. If you actually are a stealthy character, you might not have the strength to wear that. We have here in our used wand store where everything is 0, we have a wand of hasting. We have 2 wands of hasting, in fact, but 1 or 2. So we'll buy that, and then we will, for recharge our wand of hasting. So now we have 4 haste charges. We had 3 potions of haste already, but more haste is more good. Well, English. Pair of shimmering gloves. How game are we to put these on? Let's see, are there any identity scrolls anywhere? A scroll of identity for 32 gold. Okay, let's go grab that. It's not far away. A +0 pair of gloves with int +6. Well, we may as well put those on because we only had a +0 pair of gloves as it was. What this means is that we could very easily go get that stupidly broken shield, which I won't. Or I could wear this ring of slaying, which I also won't, because if I were going to do that, I'd just wear the other one. I should drop these. Well, I'll drop the +4 ring. I'll carry the other one because I might demonstrate in relation to you, in which case I'll want the fire resistance. Fumble around a bit, confused. If we start, and now we're slowed. I was going to say, if we start getting in trouble, we'll Trog's hand. It's a shapeshifter. Oh, sorry, I was trying not to sneeze that whole time. We made it. I'm still a bit sick. That was Elf 1. Elf 2 will be much the same. Excuse me. There's an added place on Elf 2 that is called the Hall of Blades, which it's a rune door area and has a whole bunch of dancing weapons. So if you somehow, with Trog as your god, still hadn't found a nice weapon, you could check that out. I usually don't. I don't think it's worth it. As in, it's not often in a game that I wouldn't have any weapon that was good. And I feel like the danger in there is not really worth the weapons. Okay, there's our first one. Free XP. He has currently a 52% to banish us. These dudes are really scary even without banish. They shoot acid bolts that really hurt and then leave you corroded. They can haste themselves and they can throw damnation. Used to be called Hellfire, which is, in my opinion, a way better name. The reason that damnation is really dangerous is because it's one of the few abilities magical abilities that ignores your AC. Smite is another one. And there are a few others. There aren't too many in the game, but basically the only thing you can do to defend this is have more HP. You can have all the shield and all the AC in the world, but detonation is always going to hurt. So first thing, we're going to shut the door, and then we're going to put Trog's Hand on. What's our banish percent? 3%. And that's with 3 pips of magic resist. You'd have to get pretty unlucky to get banished at 3%. I certainly had it happen, but mostly it won't. What did we get? We got a hand axe. Hooray. Ooh, glowing. There's an artifact ring. I think that's an artifact ring. It is. This one, again, an artifact. I'm not going to put this on until hopefully I find Scroll of Identity. We can wait until we're finished with Elf to get the art poison anyway. So even if this had art poison, I don't need to know right now. I think I'm actually dying, as in real life. I'd never die in Crawl. That's a lie. Duh. There's our next sorcerer. He just moved next to us, so we chuck our Trog's Hand on. And that's pretty much it. As in, one of the main reasons why people talk about why Elf is so dangerous is because you don't get banished. But if you had MR, or as we're doing, you just put Trog's Hand on when you see those guys, it's not going to happen. This looks like a funny bot. These Worldbinders are like Boggarts in that they summon Forceful Invitation. That's what it's called. Ah, okay, so right. So Boggarts ones summon monsters relative to the level where you are. It looks like Worldbinders specifically pull things from Lair. The Lair branches, Orcish Mines, Elven Halls, Vaults, Crypt. That's okay, I never knew that. That's interesting. But it looks like this vault is going to summon 100 million things. We have a little natural kill hole here, so we'll let them come to us. There's an identity. A glowing orange brain is much the same. Shadow creatures, yeah. And then it's got a 61% mass confusion and a blink. And also, I don't know if you noticed, brain feed. So when we're on 1 intelligence before, this is one we wouldn't want to fight that way. Okay. We will read, identify our ring. Hey look, we did it, we found our poison. That's so amazing. Cool, so our trip to Elf just became worth it. If we really wanted to, we could then skip Elf 3, but I think it's worth it. I'll show it to you anyway. One other thing to note about this poison ring is it has the ability to let us go invisible. And having invisible is one of the reasons that I would actually train some evocations. That's not evocations. See, even when I wanted to train it, I couldn't really. My subconscious was saying no. If you get to level 5, I believe, it's about a 50% chance for it to work, which is about all you need. Let's have a look what it is now. It is a 71% chance to fail, so that's no good. We'll train evocations up to about 5 or so, and then we'll turn off again. We will wear the cold resistance for the moment. The MP plus 9 does nothing because we know magic. Having a point of negative resistance is mostly irrelevant, and Dex minus 2 is obviously not that good. So this ring is more the first two, the plus invis and particularly for spider, the R poison. Did we put it on? We did, the cold ring. If you're wondering why I'm always opening these random menus, it's because I have no number pad, so I have to move with my letter keys, and I often do that a lot. Mostly when I'm trying to hit N, I'll open my skill menu. This is our room door into the Hall of Blades, which we won't do. We have a nice weapon here. It'd be more, the times you would actually want to go in is say you were a stabber and you wanted to find a quick blade, there's a good chance of that. Also, if you wanted to find an executioner's act, there's a chance of that. Or if you were a polearms user and you were looking for a bardish, which is the largest polearm, you'd probably find one there too. Or at least you'd have a good chance. I don't remember what the weighting is. I don't usually go in. Of 3. First thing we want to do is R, and we want our magic mapping. Okay, this one's fairly easy to tell, but what you're doing is you're looking to find where the ending will be. So it's usually some sort of hallway like this, leading up into some sort of funky looking like a room, and then often little doored treasure rooms. And then you haven't seen this yet, but you can place your own exclusions. So we've done Shift X, and then if you then go somewhere and you press E, that makes a big one. If you hit it again, you make a little one. So if we do that there, we then can auto-explore the rest of the floor without accidentally auto-exploring all the way in. Because we're gonna dig a couple of little kill holes before we actually walk in as well. Let's clear the rest of it first. There's another identity. We'll do a potion. Cure mutation. Now that we have 10 in, that's not really worth curing. Cure mutations are really rare in the game, and because the devs removed the ability to resist mutation outside of a few very special cases, such as one artifact I can think of, unless you have a really bad mutation, such as there's one mutation that randomly teleports you towards monsters. That's a really bad one. Or you can get what's called berserkitis, which means you berserk when it's against your will. So you might just berserk randomly when you're attacking. That's a really bad one. Or there's one that gives you half the effects of your base armor. Another one that makes it such that you take longer to read things, etc. All of those ones are mutations that you or if you're frail, which means you have minus 10% of your HP, those ones I've listed are probably most of the ones that you would be thinking, I really, really need to remove these straight away. Most of the others, such as this one, mostly kind of annoying, but they're not going to kill you unless you only have one in, as we did before. Okay, so Mara. Mara is red. And Mara is red always, no matter how strong you get. Because the main thing about Mara is this one. Mara can summon a temporary mirror image of you. So as you get stronger in the game, your image of you gets stronger in the game. So Mara is always a threat, no matter what. Mara can also Mara summon, which means he splits into 3 versions of himself, and all those ones can also cast spells, such as Bolt of Fire. So the absolute nightmare is that he makes an illusion of you, and then while you're fighting your illusion of you, he splits into 3, blinks around, and hits you with 3 bolts of fire all at once. Yeah. I've seen many people die tomorrow because they kind of think, oh yeah, it's tomorrow. What can Mara do? But Mara's always really bad. We're going to start walking away, which is always a good first step. And if possible, we're going to fight him on the stairs. Standard summoner rules apply. Is he coming? I think he just decided to let me go, maybe? Oh, God, okay. Well, he's right next to me, so this calls for different action. Now that he's right next to me, I don't really want to run away because he's going to potentially just pelt me with bolts of fire. I'm going to summon a Brother in Arms. I'm going to see how we go. If he mirror images me, or if he starts splitting and blinking around, we might then run. We'll see if he has a Demon Whip of Venom. Okay. Blinked. He hasn't done his other stuff though. Let's acid him. Capital V for evoke. We corroded him. Alright, get him, troll. Get him. Get him. He mirror imaged the troll. That's awesome. Yes, he didn't do it to me. You're an idiot, Mara. If you were a mace user, you would have just found a demon whip. That's really nice to have. That wasn't so bad. It was scarier than it looked though. Never underestimate Mara. That is a whole bunch of deep elf archers. Because they can all confuse me, I'm in Shrug's hand. And then we'll step next to this whole arm, so we're hitting it too. And then when they're not confusing us, they're just going to die to our reflection. Let's also turn off ones of Ice Blast, because we don't need those anymore either. Okay, so if you want to remove exclusions, it's Shift X. You can either go to the tile and hit it again, or if you had, say, 1,000,000 everywhere, or even just one, the way that you get rid of them all is you go Shift X and then Control E. Cool. So before we head in there, once we get in, we won't be able to do this because there'll be stone walls starting down here. We're going to dig a couple of kill holes. We'll dig 2. We'll do one here. And the reason why we're doing 2 is because, and the devs put this in because you used to just be able to kill hole the whole of Elf 3 with impunity, is that they added a particular elf who will blow up walls. So we're doing 2 because, actually let's do another one at the end up here. So we got one up there, we got one there, and then we'll do one on the left. So the reason we're doing a couple is because if our kill holes get blown up, we'll already have some more pre-built. Let's go this way. Ideally for your kill holes as well is, so this one here is not the best because say the fight started going really bad, we're kind of stuck in there. Whereas with this one, if we're going really bad, we can then dig our way out and run away. Also true for the one at the top. You can dig up and left. So we'll probably prefer this one over that first one I made. Let's give it a go. What we want to do is we want to try to, as much as possible, lure elves out one at a time and just pull them back to our kill hole. Whenever we see one of the banished ones, we'll turn on our Trog's Hand. What we can also do, if there's a banisher, but we're outside. We'll see if he comes up. I'm just using my wait key here. Yep, so Trog's Hand. And easy enough. There's a scroll of enchant weapon that we picked up. Because our axe is already fully enchanted, and because if you use Control F, you can find, say, all the enchant weapon scrolls. I'm going to drop this one and, in fact, turn enchant weapon off from our auto pickup. Because if I get some other weapon that I want to enchant up, I can just run around and pick them all up. I don't really need to waste an item slot carrying them around. We have a fully enchanted weapon. Oh god. Okay. So suddenly this got ugly. Okay, things to notice. First of all, this purple guy, the Deep Elf Demonologist, he's the second type of elf that can banish you. In addition, he has Summon Greater Demon, which is what this very scary looking Brimstone Fiend is. Can we examine it? We can. It has the ability to do two things that are both bad. One is Damnation, which we just talked about. The other is Symbol of Torment. Torment is bad always, really bad. What it does is, unless you're an undead thing, such as a ghoul or a mummy, it will cut your health in half. So it'll go boom, half your health gone. Boom, half your health gone. Boom, whole damnation, you're dead. These are scary as a late game 15 rune character. I dare say that at the moment, it's super scary. Yeah, we absolutely don't want to fight it. And the third thing to note is this guy, the Deep Elf Elementalist. He's the guy that He's the guy that the devs added who can blow up walls. There's this one here, the Awakened Earth. No, that was haste. B. Animate some rock walls. Yeah. So basically, this situation is one that we don't want to fight at all. If it were just the Demonologist and he'd summon this fiend, we could have run back to our kill hole and then the Demonologist would come, we could fight him, kill him, and then the fiend would disappear. The problem is, trying to do that with this guy who's going to just then blow up the walls and we're going to get fiended to death means that's really bad. Yep, so we're running away from this one. The other thing to note is it used to be really handy for new players especially because the three fiends, there are three types. They were all called something fiend and all of them have torment except one of the fiends got named, it was a shadow fiend and now it's named after some Aztec thing. It's called a Tzitzimo or something. So you need to remember that. It's anything called fiend or Tzitzimo can berserk you. First thing we're going to do is we're going to step out of sight, hopefully. Okay, and now using our newly acquired Wand of Hasting, or if we didn't have that, we just quaff a potion of haste. Is it necessary? Otherwise we could fog, but because we have a wand, yeah, you know, haste myself. So we evoke capital V, S, and then we'll do ourself. We are lightly contained with magic, we speed up. And because there's the Demonologist, Will Trog's Hand. And the thing I'm noticing is that the elemental dude hasn't come. I think he didn't notice us. There was a question mark on him here. Let's see, if he doesn't come, and he hasn't, we're gonna run to our kill hole. Yeah. And I'm just waiting. Yeah, we did it. Okay, we didn't get fiended. Hooray, we did it. And this video is getting kind of long. I don't really care about you guys, but trying to upload long videos with Australian internet is just... Trying to upload any videos with Australian internet is super bad. But if I keep going much longer, it's going to take me probably a whole week. So I'm going to stop it there, and we'll continue in the next one.